Hello, everybody. This is Sam Hunter with the Rev Craft Biz podcast. And this is a really special episode because I am here with Kristy Lee and Leila Gardunia, and we are here to present to you a project that we've been working on for a few months. It is a Halloween block of the month that we're launching in December when this video comes out and the podcast comes out. And it is called Frightful Fun. And so we're going to sit here and chat with each other because this was a team project and we're all over the world, and tell you guys a little bit about what we were up to and why we did this for you. All right. So, hi, Leila.
Hi.
And hi, Kristy.
Hey, Sam. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Just so you know, Kristy lives in an area where the internet can be dodgy. So if she freezes up, we're just going to hang tight and wait for her. Okay. So hopefully it won't happen. But that's a little housekeeping that we can do. We will put in the show notes all the links that you will need to sign up for this bomb and for any other information you need to know. We've got an inside Facebook group for you so that you can show what you're working on and we can help you out if you get stuck. And we're all super excited. So enough from me. I'm going to let Leila and Kristy talk a little bit about how their relationship came together and how eventually I got invited to play in that relationship.
I'll hand it over to Leila in case I'm a bit laggy.
Okay. Well, it was earlier this year, Kristy, who's one of the editors of Make Modern, was putting together a gallery of sampler quilts. And arguably, my chicken sampler is not modern, but Kristy asked if she could put it in.
But it's cute.
It is cute. And you like chickens. And I was like, she likes chickens and she has fabric. Maybe we could maybe I can make one of my chicken blocks with her fabric. And we went back and forth emailing for a while and figured it all out when we have not done that because in the last email, Kristy was like, well, if you have any other collaborations ideas, let me know. I always love a good collaboration. And I was like, I do. And just like, boom, huge document with outlining a little mini foundation paper piece sampler with a bunch of different quilt designers.
Yeah. And that was our Back to Nature. And I loved it. Leila's organization is amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was so
Leila comes up with a document that asks all the questions.
So good.
It was so good. It was so good. I was really excited to be invited into the Back to Nature project after you guys designed it. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I'm known for not normally participating in projects where things are given away for free. So personally, I think free patterns are not always the best thing unless they're done with a lot of strategy. But Back to Nature had a lot of strategy in it because we were essentially exchanging our email lists with each other. And so that gave us the ability to just reach more people. And I thought that was a really great way to do it.
And specifically to reach people who enjoyed foundation paper piecing so that it's a very niche, like quilting is a niche, and then foundation paper piecing is a very small niche inside that. So being able for us to find people who like foundation paper piecing and for them to find 9 designers that like foundation paper piecing, I think it was a good fit for everybody.
I really think it really helped our followers to, just find more new cool people in a lot of ways. And then, you had said, well, what made me think up, like, how do we do the next project? I got a lot of feedback from my followers that, like, that was really fun. What are you going to do next? And rather than just keep churning out little small things, I thought, well, why don't we do something that's big and makes a whole quilt. And Kristy and I had already been talking at that point about wanting to challenge ourselves in making perhaps more complicated blocks. Or I don't think complicated is the word. I think that's a really I think that word is going to set you up to think it's going to be hard, and it's not true. We wanted to make blocks that were larger, that gave us the opportunity to put more detail into them. So we could get a little bit more going on within the design, like in your bat block, the ribs on the wings, things like that, just the extra sparkle, the extra icing on the cake. And if we're all going to design at that point, obviously we're not going to be giving it away for free. So that's how this came about. In my proposition anyway, is like, well, let's make something that has so much value that they're going to want it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think a big part of this coming about was we had so much fun working in Back to Nature as a collaboration. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. So it was like, let's challenge ourselves to try something on a slightly bigger scale. And and this, like, it really began with such a kernel of an idea, and it just grew. And it just came together really easily, that it was fun to work together and to come up with designs that fit together on a theme.
Yeah. So, it was a lot of fun and easier. Like, we're each designing a third of the pattern and are getting feedback on how everything's going together. Thought it was really, really fun and made it. I've done other block of the months, and doing it by yourself, it's not as fun or as easy. And this was really enjoyable. And
well, and it's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, each of us designed a lot of stuff, but if we had designed 3 times as much as we had done, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten it done quite as quickly either.
I wouldn't have been able to turn it over as fast as we got it.
And the beauty of it was we could bounce ideas back and forth. Does this work? Does this fit? Should I make this a little more detailed? Should I simplify something? So the beauty of us working together as a collaborative team on this is for the person who's going to sew it, they're getting the best possible quilt and pattern that we can provide, because we've bounced it around, we've talked it out, we've hashed it out behind the scenes, that we've put out our best possible pattern out there for people to sew.
It almost makes me wish that I'd kept like all of the nope, not that one, not that one, not that one either.
I have some of those. They're pretty scary.
Now that would have been the scary version of the quilt.
Absolutely. The process of it. And that's where people at the end of this, they're not getting it where just one of us has gone, this looks pretty good, I'm pretty happy. This has been ticked off by 3 of us going, that works. And so we've refined it. We've like taken off the rough edges and made it into a beautiful thing that is going to be fun for people to sew and end up with a quilt that they love. And that's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also had the benefit of input from testers too. So this has been a very well-made quilt before it ends up in your hands.
Absolutely. Because we know foundation. Sorry, Leila.
No. I was just saying lots of eyes on it. I love having you guys be here to, check. Check everything.
It works. Because I think that's the thing with foundation piecing, is that it's often seen as a difficult technique. And once you've got the hang of it, it's actually not. Once you've got the technique, you can apply it to pretty much any pattern. But there are some things we as designers can do to just make it just a little bit easier. Like supply seams or partial seams or, unnecessary seams. So there's things that we can do to just make it a little more user-friendly. And that's what we've done with 3 sets of eyes plus testers. We've just refined it to make it a fun sew. And that's what we want.
Well, and that's it. You want to have a fun sew with a fun outcome.
Absolutely.
So
it's such a fun quilt. It's been fun making each block and just seeing it go up on the design wall and
it's
fun.
I was thrilled. I showed our first final drawing to a couple of my quilting friends, and completely without me asking anything, two of them said to me, I cannot wait to make that.
Which is the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
It really is.
They were like, oh, this is fun. This is really exciting. I cannot wait to make that. And without me, sort of prodding them or feeding them cookies or anything.
Right.
So there wasn't any
bribery
bribery
required.
involved.
Oh, and I was working on some of the blocks at my guild retreat. And I mean, people are always nice, right? Like they're always going to say like, oh, that's so cute. But like they were like meaning it. Like this is like, it's just so nice to know like that's and to see that something you've designed is loved and people are excited about it and people want to make it themselves. And I think there's going to be so many cute Halloween quilts out there in the world now.
I can't wait to see them all.
I know,
me too. Yeah, that'll be the most rewarding part of this, is seeing those quilts and how people have made them their own.
Yeah.
I think other people's fabric choices is my favorite part of quilting sometimes, because it's so inspiring. I would never think to put that and that together, and now my head's running in a whole different direction.
Yeah. So. No, and like I know Kristy likes rainbows, right? But I didn't expect her to be able to like rainbow out a Halloween quilt. And I was like, oh yeah, if you do it like that and color it like this, it's fun. And so like if you can do that, like I don't know, what else could be done?
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it was a challenge. Because I was like, oh, I still want orange pumpkins. I couldn't go past that. But it's my thing. Like, there's something about rainbows just makes my soul happy, and it has to be done.
Yeah. I can honestly think of 3 or 4 different versions of it that I could be happy making.
And I think
terms of color palette.
Yeah. And that's the exciting thing, is we don't all have time to make this in all the colorways we'd love to see.
Oh, I wish.
But that's what we'll benefit from, seeing what people who join in the block of the month will see what they make. And it's almost that same gratification as if we made it ourselves, because we get to see and go, oh, that's how it would look. That's awesome.
And getting ideas from other people in the group, like maybe someone will post a picture of their block and you haven't made yours yet, but you're like, oh, I like how they made the cat green instead of black, or whatever they do.
Or as my friend Megan made this wonderful candy corn block here, which I am desperately trying to find in a hurry, where she, what did I do with it? It cannot have disappeared off my desk so quickly. She found a scrap of, and this is, I believe, Ruby Star Society's fabric that has little candies in the back.
Yeah.
Which is
so
perfect.
You guys might need you might need to go shopping for that.
Yeah.
And in her ghost, she used white on white, or a little gray on white that says boo. Oh, I need to put it in front of the actual camera.
That's cute.
That's adorable.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Perfect.
Perfection.
Those little details.
Little details. And so I want to go back to this idea that this was a sampler that was done in foundation paper piecing, which there are so many samplers that get done, block of the months that get done, and very few of them are in the foundation paper piecing realm. And that was really exciting to me to be part of, because I love that foundation paper piecing can give you a lot of accuracy in a very easy way. I know, Kristy, you were kind of cradle to grave foundation paper piecing.
I'm a diehard fan.
A very hard fan. And Leila, I know you do a lot of it, and I'm in and out of it. I wrote a book with FPP in it, but I love the fact that there isn't really beginner, intermediate, complicated. paper piecing, because paper piecing, the only thing that makes paper piecing complicated is more pieces, or you make more chunks and then sew them together, which you would do if you had blocks anyway. I feel like once you've got a beginning paper piecing skill, all paper piecing is available to you.
Absolutely. It translates.
Whereas it's different from going from 4 patches to feathered stars in traditional patchwork.
Yes.
You have to acquire a different set of more accurate piecing, cutting, etc. skills, which you don't with paper piecing. Paper piecing just works.
You're sewing by number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the line.
Yeah.
On the line.
Yeah.
So
that being said, my foundation paper piece patterns are in general super easy, very uncomplicated, because I like to do it for fun and I want sewing to be fun. So like that Back to Nature quilt along and this quilt along was like pushing me a little bit. I was like, how many pieces are going to be in this little block that someone else made?
Leila is the queen of like a one and done. Like everything is in the block.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the Halloween block of the month, I think we only have one block that does that. Everything else, the blocks have segments.
Yeah, a lot.
And so I know that Kristy and I were like, yes, we get to create complicated things. And Leila was like, wait a minute. How do I get this done in one? And we were like, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. You don't. These are some of the most complicated blocks I've designed, but they're fun, and I
awesome though.
They are.
They really are. They're so you.
Oh,
they're so you. Obviously, you guys have to see a picture of this, and we will get that as part of this. I will have my editor pop a picture into the video of this, but each of us designed about a third of the blocks that are in the quilt. So Leila, you made the bat.
The bat. Just want to see
the bat in a moon. Oh, look at this bat, guys! Isn't it great?
I'm a low volume fan, and so like that moon background,
that scrappy background. Look at you go.
Scrappy background.
That is not my skill set.
That was fun.
Yeah. And you did the house?
I did do the house. I have that one with me too.
Oh, excellent. Look at this house.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
And help me out with the other ones.
The tombstone.
Yes.
I don't have here. And
the candies.
The little round candies.
Ooh, round candies. And then Kristy, you did.
I had the scaredy cat.
Oh, a cat has just the best shape. Yeah.
Yeah, I need like reference to remind me of which ones I did.
Oh, look at that. Lila's got the scaredy cat. Look at that arch in the back. I think it was just so much character in it. It's great.
We have cats all the time.
The eyes are great.
So
and
good.
You did a witch in a cauldron. A
bird.
Raven in a cauldron.
Yeah, raven on the cauldron. A set of bones for the border as well. And poison bottles.
And poison bottles.
Yeah, 2 poison bottles.
Poison bottles were great with a little skull. And then I stole Kristy's skull and put it into a word, because I'm the word girl, boo. And I did a witch hat and a ghost. Oh, Lila's going to show them off.
I love these like cat and witch's hat ones, because they're so simple. Like they're just big and like graphic.
Yeah.
Love them.
And I did candy corn.
Candy corn and
the pumpkins. I did the pumpkins. So which of the blocks do you feel was your favorite to do, or you did something in it that you were like, well, hot diggity, I am really proud of like this piece of this block, or what part of it was like really fun for you?
For me, I loved doing the poison bottles. So the way they designed the row of poison bottles has sections for labels on the bottles, and I put self edges into them. And So before this, I didn't have any Halloween fabric in my stash, like none. So I went on this like great fabric shopping spree and bought all this Halloween fabric. And when I was working on the poison bottles, I was like, I should check what the selvages are on all that fabric I just bought. And they were perfect. Like one of them was spellbound. So I put that into one of my poison bottles. And the other ones had little ghosts on them or little skulls. And I was like, this is perfect. So combining that, the Halloween fabric, the selvages, and fussy cutting, yeah, that brought me ridiculous amounts of joy, not going to lie.
Oh, that's so fun. Leila, what was your favorite part of all this?
Oh, I don't know. I really liked the big, not very complicated blocks, like the ghost and the hat and the cat. I mean, they were complicated, but not like, just because it was so just so graphic, and you couldn't, and like seeing all the different weird shaped pieces come together was really satisfying to.
Yeah.
Design wise, which one did you like working on the most?
I
mean, of your own.
I like working on the house. The bat was just a little bit frustrating, trying to get all of the little dumb lines on the wings to be right. But the house was a lot of fun, trying to figure out what a haunted house looks like and how to make it not look just like a house. And trying to figure out how you could get all of the elements and what's the best way to divide the house up into sections was, I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's like doing a puzzle backwards.
Yeah.
There's an element of how to it.
There is.
Yeah, my proud moment in the design was actually the pumpkins, because each pumpkin is done in one.
Yes, it is.
And that was a real challenge because I didn't want to segment those further. So to get the pumpkin to come together in one section, including a leaf, was just. I remember that was a very long afternoon, but one that was really satisfying when I got to the end of it. Yeah. I got to the end and got it all, slotted in there.
And just how you have them stacked up, I thought was really cool instead of like horizontal being vertical. They just look really fun.
Yeah. I wanted at one point to maybe put jack-o'-lantern faces in them. But you know what? You can applicate that on as an option very, very easily. Because to actually then cut that in further in paper piecing would make something really, really complex.
A lot of pieces.
And so you can come back and add it later in applique. I mean, that's the one thing about quilting that I think is so amazing, is that you get to make your quilt.
Yeah.
We each get to make our own quilt. You've got your own fabric. You've got your own spin on it, your own vibe. Are we talking about the mini quilt? We are. Sure, we can talk about the mini quilt. So we have a special gift for you. If you sign up for the bomb before the patterns start going out in January, you get a free mini quilt pattern as well on the spot when you sign up. So it's 6-inch blocks. If you look behind Kristy's head, you can see it. And I can show you a few bits and pieces here that my lovely friend Megan, she often pattern tests for us. She went through the entire minis and, let's get this in front of the camera, Sam. And she used shiny fabric and everything. And look at this wonderful background fabric that already has candies in it. So I think one of the best things that we do in quilting is that we find a way to make something truly our own, like this lovely shiny in here. And in the mini quilt, the blocks are very different than the big quilt. So it truly is extra patterns for you guys. So
it's also something people can start sewing. Like as soon as they sign up for the block of the month, rather than sitting around and just
Mhm.
waiting for the patterns to be released, we've got you
Mhm.
covered. You can get
Mhm.
started sewing straight away. So that's
Yeah,
been being early.
definitely. And like, you
Oh,
got to
and I
check
was
this guy
so
out.
I really wanted that moth to be in the main pattern. So I'm glad it was gotten to this mini quilt.
Yeah, it had to fit in somewhere. I couldn't
It
let
did.
go of the moth. I wanted it in
Yeah,
there. So yeah.
yeah. The
And
collaborative process was really, really interesting for me because we each have pretty distinct styles, and none of us are without opinion. I think we can safely say that. Um, and yet we remain friends all the way through as we moved ourselves closer to the goal. And the goal was to, bring about a block of the month that would be, not the run of the mill job here. And I think we've got it. I
yeah,
really think we've got it.
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad
I'm
you
super proud that it's FPP.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Lila. I started talking over the top of
No,
you
I
said.
was just glad that Sam suggested it because, a month or two after the Back to Nature quilt along ended, I got this email saying, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah." Like,
Yeah.
what made you think of doing it, Sam?
Um, I got a lot of feedback on Back to Nature that was really lovely. And a lot of the people essentially said, I have no idea where that sound is coming from.
That's my husband texting. I don't know how to
Okay.
turn it off.
Okay. We've got a few extra squeaks and noises here. You understand, people. Um, I had lovely feedback from some of my followers that were like, the Back to Nature was so much fun. And they were like, what are you going to do next? And I think that's a really lovely question to be asked by people who like your work is like, what are you going to do next? But to me, it was super important that what we did next wasn't free. We'd already given them some free, and now I thought it was time to do something that could bring us a guaranteed profit, not just mailing list people that we have a potential to sell to. Okay. I mean, I realize that people who want to stay on your mailing list, it's not, it's a gift and people want to stay with your mailing list. But let's turn this into something that we can make something that's really worth buying. And Halloween is the second largest decorating holiday now in the United States. I don't know. Do people decorate a lot in Halloween in Australia, Kristy?
It's becoming bigger. It is growing. Like when I was a kid, Halloween really wasn't a thing, but it's definitely growing. Nothing like what it is in the States. I've lived in the US and I remember how big it was Halloween. And as an Aussie, it was fascinating to me to see all the decorations. And here, I didn't get any trick-or-treaters or anything this year. Like it's very different here. But we absolutely still have some die-hard Halloween fans. And I think the beauty of what we've done in Frightful Fun is they're fun blocks. They're not spooky, scary, Halloween, dark and full of ghouls and creepy stuff. They're fun blocks. So whether you put them all together and make a really cool Halloween quilt, which is amazing, or you can pull some of them out for other things. That they can do double duty for other types of quilts if you wanted to.
Yeah, we have big blocks in there. You could bring them out and make pillows with them.
Absolutely, like use the pumpkins for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice table.
Table runner. Yeah, wall hanging. Yeah, but I was thinking about that. So thematically, I mean, the big decorating holidays thematically, would be Christmas or Halloween or seasonal. They are trying. Okay, so the marketing machine of what could we sell you for a holiday does actually try to sell Easter decorations. And obviously, in the United States, we have 4th of July decorations. So the country red, white, and blue stuff. So there's all of these sort of thematic opportunities for design. But I've always thought that Halloween was fun. And I love that when we had our first design meeting, we came up with, no, it has to be lighthearted. We don't want it spooky. We don't want it dark. We don't want it in any way that isn't sort of upbeat. We decided not to have spiders in it because we know there are a lot of people who are rather phobic about spiders. So the goal was always that it could just be cheeky and cheerful. And I loved that idea. Also, for me, Halloween is a very orange holiday, which happens to be my favorite color. So there were other choices there in suggesting Halloween. But one of them was also the finished quilt is a 54 by 72. This is a usable quilt.
Nice.
This is a generous lap size or a big snuggle. And I personally don't have room for lots of little things in my house. I don't have wall hanging little sampler room. And I want usable quilts in my house. So I have no problem having a stack of lap size quilts. So size-wise, that really appealed to me. But I also love that we've created this second option for the people that don't want a lap size quilt. It's too big. You can break it down and make it smaller. And with paper piecing, if you want it bigger, you photocopy it up. If you want it smaller, you photocopy it down. So you're not limited to what it is produced at as well, which is another great thing to me. But yeah, Halloween was definitely, I like it, and it's orange.
Oh, well, we got a puppy a few months ago, and one of my daughter is like, you should make the bone to put on the puppy's Christmas stocking. I was like, I don't know that the puppy was going to need a Christmas stocking, but yes.
But yes, now you do.
Bone can go on that, and we're getting a new daughter-in-law, so I think I'm going to use the candy on her stockings. So
that's a great
just multi-purpose.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And that's the beauty of it. When you can use the blocks for multiple things, that's what I really love. And that's, I think with design, something we're all really proud of. It's tricky sometimes in a collaborative thing, because sometimes you'll be like, oh, that doesn't quite jive with what I would go with, or doesn't quite work. But I feel like with what we've created, we don't have those feelings. We're like, we created something really fun, and we're really proud of how it went together. And on that business perspective, I have absolutely loved working with you too. Like, it has been such a delight, because there's no, like Sam joked before that we're still friends at the end of this, but there's been no disagreements. There's been no going, oh no, I really want to do it this way. There's a lot of give and take, and it was just such a beautiful collaboration and a really enjoyable process. And I think for me, that adds to how much I love the quilt and how proud we are to put it out and share it with other people. And I hope that people feel that joy in it when they see it, going, these guys had fun making this. Because we did.
We did.
Yeah. And we did. I was impressed at how fast it came together, because went from the idea to brainstorming to having to making the foundations really quick, and kind of quicker than I thought we could maybe do it, honestly. But you just buckle down and get it done.
Well, and also I think, at one point, we're each responsible for say 5 blocks by the time you count the additions in the mini. I think at one point, did we not have 30, 40 ideas for blocks?
So many ideas.
Yeah, ideas weren't the problem.
No,
there was such a rich amount of stuff that we could choose from, and we could choose the best of it. There was I was working on a tree at one point, and it was a really interesting tree. And I still like it a lot. But in the end, it ended up being a little too spooky for the vibe, right? It wasn't as playful. So it came out and other things came in. And I think that's the other great thing about having a lot of ideas is you can get halfway in and go, this isn't going where it needs to go, or it doesn't fit well. And it's time to pull it out. And, I appreciated at one point you guys were like, no, keep the tree. And I'm like, no, I don't actually think this is right. I think
like a tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll give you a tree as a bonus block.
Can buy a separate pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just so much fun. And to work with other people who are so creative, it's like your creativity fires up mine. And I've always thought that, like one person generating ideas, you can start chugging at some point. But when somebody else comes in it with you, it's like, I've got this one, and then I've got that one, and what about this? And what about that? And then all of that group excitement just really grows things. And I'll share with you candidly, we're already dreaming up the next thing because this was too much fun. So there'll be more from this team. And I think it was good. I think it was good. I am glad, although I don't know how you did it, Leila, on Back to Nature, herding 9 cats together to get those blocks out.
Everyone was really good. They just
that's excellent.
Gave me the stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was good.
Yeah. But I think herding our 3 cats was plenty.
Well, and this was a lot more collaborative than that was. Yeah. That was just a make a block that's nature themed. Whatever you make is just fine.
Yeah.
And this was definitely trying to get things to really work together. And it did. And I think a lot of times we design and we work in our own little box from home. So like getting to interact and talk and with all of you guys. And I've learned stuff from you that I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do it that way. And it's great. I learned so many things about EQ from Kristy. I'm like, oh, I've been doing it the hard way for years.
And that's another aspect that I don't think I expected in our collaboration. Like I was like, yeah, we're going to make patterns and a really cool quilt. But that dynamic of working with other designers and going, have you thought about doing it this way? Like that's invaluable to learn from each other, to make things a bit easier when we work on a certain process or something. Like there's such a value to that, and it's an intangible value, but it's so important, and it's something that really makes a collaboration like this fun from us as a designer perspective.
Yeah. Well, I appreciated your EQ skills because I always design in Illustrator, which makes a lot of sense to me. But when it comes to cutting something up over multiple pages, Illustrator is pretty laborious. And you were able to take it and, in the flick of a switch, chop it up easily in EQ. So I think, again, having this broad set of skills between us really helped make the patterns a lot stronger in a lot of good ways.
Absolutely. And I was thinking before, Sam, when you said how working in a group, like how you kind of bouncing off each other, like that's been an amazing part of it for us as designers. But I was thinking on it too, for the people who join our block of the month, that's our goal to have for everybody, to have that bit of that feeling with like our Facebook group or sharing on Instagram where people can go, I'm thinking about this fabric pull. What do you think? And like, post your photos, share them, and we'll go, oh yeah. Like happy to chime in. I love to give an opinion. So, happy to share. That would work brilliantly. Like there's something to having that community to cheer you on. And that's that I don't know, I'm speaking for the 3 of us, but I feel like that's a part of why we decided to do it as a block of the month, because we can work it as a community rather than just buy the pattern at once and just sew in your own little sewing room. This way we're working on it together. Plus, it's a lot of foundation piecing to do all at once. So if we spread it out over 9 months to make it, it's a breeze. But
well, the other thing about the community is it'll support you when you're running out of steam. You know, I mean, how many of us sign up for something and, you know, we do the first block or two with a lot of excitement and then we find it in the UFO pile 3 years later? Having the support of a community saying, oh, what did you pick for this? Or let me show you mine. Or I'm struggling with this. How would you get around this? Because we each have very different voices in color.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kristy is our lovely rainbow lady. And everything is rainbow when it goes through Kristy's hands. Mine, I have not been able to sew. I was out of the country for almost 2 months. Doing other things, and having a sewing machine wasn't an option while I was doing that. I really want to make my whole quilt on an orange background, and I love orange, so it's going to be a challenge. So I have to resolve the design in places like pumpkins, so the pumpkins are not orange. And thank goodness there are white and green pumpkins out there. But you know, it's like we all have this like very, very different fabric voice. And therefore we can all come together and help you find your fabric voice as well. Because that's one of the great things about this is you can have an unlimited palette, you can have a wide palette, you can have a rainbow palette. It worked out great hearing it. Leila, while her internet's doing whatever it's doing, do you want to talk about yours?
I would like to talk about mine. So I think the main difference between mine and yours is that I'm having a different background for each of the blocks and kind of color blocking the quilt. So like my cat is in orange and green. And it's been a lot of fun to like try to figure out which background needs to go where so it's kind of balanced. And I think it's just I don't know. I really like it. Like I think not that a solid background is bad, but this is a lot of fun. And I kind of tend to gravitate towards like not primary colors, but like a little bit off from primary, like bright pastels, and are kind of my go-to colors. Although I've been using a lot of this black sparkly.
Oh, that's fun.
Thread. I think it's Sparkler from Riley Blake. And that has been, I'm like, ooh, I was going to have some different blacks in the quilt, but I'm like, no, we're using all sparkler black. And it's super cute.
I'm looking forward to getting sewing. I haven't, as I say, I was out of the country for a couple months running tours in Europe, and I got to do an artist residency while I was there, which was kind of fun. But now it's time to come back to the fold and get back into the studio. And I left in wearing shorts weather, and I came home to, heaving rain and cold. And my studio can be very, very cold in this house. So I am probably going to drag parts of my studio into my living room, which has the better television as well. So
good plan.
I got to figure out what I'm going to watch while I'm sewing.
Yeah.
So you guys TV watchers or audiobook listeners? Because I'm an audiobook listener while I sew, or a nothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm a streaming TV. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, although I'm trying to like get back into audiobooks because I really miss having a good book to either read or listen to. And I just don't seem to make time for it otherwise. So I'm like, I can multitask. So yeah.
If I listen, I will listen not through headphones while I'm sewing because I don't like to not be able to hear the machine.
Oh, okay.
Because you can often hear something going wrong before you see it.
So I just put I have little wireless headphones and I just put one in because I like to be able to hear around me, but that way I can still hear the iPad over the sewing machine.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then it's if I have it loud enough where I can hear it over the sewing machine, then it's too loud when it's not sewing. And
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't watch new stuff while I'm sewing. I only watch things that if I miss a bit, who cares? I've already
Yes.
seen it.
Yes.
Episodes of Bridgerton are a really good unit of sewing measurement.
Yes. we
Something
should
like
put
that.
that on our blocks. This will take one episode of Bridgerton.
Yep.
This will take 3.
Well, we all also paper piece in specific ways, and one of the things that's in the pattern for you is links to all of our tutorials. So I found when I started learning how to paper piece, I'd seen it and I had bought, I think, 2 or 3 books about it, and I was reading these books and I couldn't make sense of it. And then I took a class at my local quilt store. And once I saw it happen in front of me, it was like I was off and running. It was just fine. So I have a video tutorial because I found that I needed to see it happen. But the other thing is in studying with different teachers and reading different books, I've come up with like my own hybrid version of a lot of different things. And I think we all do that actually with FPP. We find our way. And one of the things I always do before I sit down to sew a block is I will cut all my fabrics for it and stack them in order on the paper like a kit, so that when I sit down and sew, I just sew. I tend to sort of bulk do steps in that way. I'll do all my cutting, and then I'll do all my sewing, and then I'll do all my pressing. And
do you do it for the whole block or for the whole quilt, or when you cut?
On the mini quilts, I kit cut every block.
Wow!
And they're all in baggies waiting for me because I did it before I went on my trip.
Okay, I do a section at a time.
Okay.
So if like it has like 5 sections, I will stack it up on one section, unless the sections are identical, and then I'll like cut 2 at once and just pile them up. But any more than that, and I suspect my cats would walk over my sewing table and everything would be scattered to the wind. So I'm a section at a time. What about you, Leila? How do you do it?
I'm kind of a mess. So lots of the stuff. In general, I tend to make a lot of foundation paper piece scrap quilts. So in that case, it's just like a pile of scraps, and I grab what I need as I need it. But for this one, I've been tending to pick out fabric for each section. And if I see in a section that or between sections that there's a certain size repeated, I'll cut a bunch of those just because it makes sense. But I kind of do. So half cut before and half cut as you go, but not super organized. Or I'll cut some of the pieces. But and I'll usually work on like add a piece to each section and then add another piece to each section.
Oh my gosh. So you do like all the 1, 2?
Yeah.
And then to the next piece, the 1, 2, and the next piece, the 1, 2?
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who do it that way. It drives me nuts. I do a whole section.
I do the whole section. Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I sewed with these friends, I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, don't you do it this way? I'm like, no, I don't do it that way. I do it this way. Really? But again, there we go. Quilting. You can do it your way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it is I'm used to working with bigger pieces, so I like to press between them, and I don't want to get up and down to press. But but now that I'm working with all like these little pieces and these little blocks, I'm like, okay, I will finger press these little pieces. But if it's over 2 inches, I like to press it. So,
do either of you guys use the wooden roller? Violet Craft, one of our other paper piecing designers in the industry who makes really wonderful things, she came up with a wooden roller to be able to flip over and just roll on the seam.
Does it really work? Like, I've never bought
I don't use it, but I know people who swear by it. And obviously we'll link that up in the show notes. I flip it over and run my thumbnails across it.
I use a clover finger presser. So it's like a stick with a pointy end on it, and you use that. And I can't foundation piece without it. Like I would be lost without it.
I might have to try because I've done finger, but I feel like I'm just wearing down my fingernails after a while. But
yeah, we need to get you a finger presser or a seam roller to try it and see.
Give it a try. I'll do a review.
I might have a seam roller that I can send you.
No, I can get a seam roller. It's fine.
I know, but if it's not getting used in my studio, it can go to yours, you know?
But this is the fun
thing.
I've
always done it with my thumbnails, and most of that has to do with then I don't have to find the tool. I mean, my thumbs are right here.
There.
So I keep my finger presser on top of my sewing machine or right next to, like in the throat, right up on the side. So it is always there. And then I've bought a second one, so I've got a backup. So if I happen to lose it, I can still paper pick. Yeah.
Do you use like the add a quarter ruler?
I don't.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do. But I don't do it the way they tell you to do it.
I consider myself a lazy paper piecer. Like I would just do it all at the sewing machine if I can. So I fold the paper back and I eyeball a 1/4 inch seam and I cut it. That's how I do it. It works for me. If I had to go to the cutting board and like cut it all properly, I think it'd take me a lot longer. So yeah. And I'm like, it's a seam allowance. No one's going to see this except for my long armor, and she'll forgive it.
Yeah.
You did piece your quilt really fast, so I might have to try that. Like I'll trim at the sewing machine like something that's 2 or 3 inches or less, but those big seams make me, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll use a ruler on a big seam, but primarily I'll just pick it up and cut it out with scissors.
Yeah. So this is what I love is there's no one way to do this. You do what works for you. Like I think that's my motto for life. Do what works for you. And I love that, especially with paper piecing, there's no real right or wrong. As long as you're sewing the lines in order, you can do it how you like. You can do the 1 and 2 all at once like Leila does, or you can do it in order, like just one section at a time. Or, there's no right or wrong to it. Like that's the beauty of it. And you're still going to have a beautiful block by the end. Just follow the lines.
Just follow the lines.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for what you do when the block is finished? Like I don't take my paper off until I put the whole quilt together.
Same.
Yeah.
Do you stay stitch around your blocks before you put them?
No. But I backstitch. Yeah. I backstitch in my seams at beginning and end. So that way I know that all my seams are joined and nothing's going to come apart, so I don't need to stay stitch. That's how I do it.
I stay stitch the final quilt before I take the paper off.
Okay. So you join your blocks with the paper on. You join all the blocks in. Oh. Yeah. I'll have my blocks like this in my mini quilt and they've all got the paper on. Then I'll sit down and take all the paper out of the blocks, and then I'll join the blocks together into a quilt.
I usually don't take the paper out until the quilt top's together.
Are you the same, Leila?
I will take, I'll take papers out of the middle as I go, and then keep the outer papers in till they're all sewn together. And then I absolutely hate stay stitching, so I'll usually just spray starch the heck out of the edges, and it hasn't
starch is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love learning the different ways we can approach this and try it.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I also always print all of my patterns onto paper piecing paper.
Same.
Or newsprint, which is a little finer, so it tears out better. And there are tools out there. Caroline Moore has one where it's a brush with a foam tip that has a water reservoir behind it. If any of you have ever used the watercolor brushes that look like that have a proper brush tip, but they have water in the reservoir in the handle. So you go down your seam lines with this basically wet sponge tip, and it weakens it at the seam lines, and it makes the paper pop out easier. And she sells a nice kit that's got the brush and a tweezers in it.
Okay.
But I also don't take the tiniest bits of paper out. I figure they're gonna disintegrate when it gets washed.
Absolutely, I agree on that.
I don't take all that. And I have a friend who's trained her husband to tear paper. She doesn't like tearing paper, but he does. So they watch television together, and he tears the paper.
Nice
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I've also found crumpling it will do as well.
Oh.
If you take the whole quilt and crumple it, it'll help break the paper up. But it's a little...
I might have to try that.
It's a little nerve-wracking because...
Yeah,
all your blocks are pretty flat when they're on paper, and then you crumple it, and it's like,
Yeah.
It's not like you're not going to press it, but, it just feels wrong to crumple.
Just counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I have a question for you guys. With the bigger sections, I would put a little bit of glue stick to hold the large pieces of fabric on. Is that what you guys do, or is there some other magic technique that I need to know about?
If it feels wibbly, I'll use glue stick.
Okay.
Yeah, I just pin.
You just pin.
I'm probably more likely to pin than glue.
Yeah.
Mostly because, I always have them both at the machine. I have a glue stick at the machine and pins.
Yeah.
But I don't like getting the paper back off the fabric once it's been glued.
Yeah, you have to be judicious in your usage.
And there's some glue that releases a little better than others, so I don't know. So I'm probably more of a pinner. But I use pins pretty much exclusively. I don't use clips very often unless I'm, maybe using a bag or, when I've got a lot of thick things that I have to hold together.
Yeah.
Mostly because I find it's really easy to make fabric slide under clips, whereas pins don't do that. So,
yeah.
And I know a lot of people who do use clips. Clips are really good when you want to put all the fabric in the piece together. Like when I'm kit cutting, I might use clips, but I don't use clips in place of pins.
Yeah. I think the only place I use clips is when I'm doing binding, because I machine bind.
Oh, yeah.
That's about the only time. And otherwise, they don't come out of the jar. They sit in the jar and just look pretty and rainbow.
Yeah. Do you go up on your needle size when you're paper piecing?
I don't. What about you, Leila?
I didn't know that was a thing.
It was when paper piecing first came out. We all went. The instructions were to go to a 90-14 needle because it punched a larger hole, which helped tear it out.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. I just used the 80-12.
The 80-12?
I'm, again, a lazy piecer. I don't, But obviously, I take my stitch length down quite low, to a 1.4.
Me too.
Yeah.
I go, because all machines say it differently, I go as small as it takes to put the tip of a seam ripper in.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, because I might have to do that, so I want to be able to get a seam ripper into the stitch.
Yes.
But I don't think I go as low as 1.4. I'm probably, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to go look.
Let's know.
Yeah.
I know, because you stitch it and you're like, oh, that's big. Crank it down. So.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, on the Pina, the default's 2.4, and I dial it to 1.4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine's a manual machine. I've got the Genomi's version of the Juki, so everything's dials and knobs. And I know I'm in the ones. I'm probably like a 1.6 or a 1.7.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
But I
the reason we're
piecing.
going so small is for the paper. So if
Mhm.
you're using foundation piecing paper, which tears away easily, you may not need to
Mhm.
dial it down quite as low as if you're
Mhm.
using like heavy duty printer paper.
Yeah.
Like that's going to need you to go a lot smaller just to tear the paper away a bit easier. That's the only reason we go
Yeah.
small, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's probably why we were telling everybody to use the 90 needles at the beginning.
Yeah.
We didn't have paper piecing paper when I started doing this at all.
Yeah.
It's probably 30 years ago. Carol Doak's book, I think, was the first one I ever did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fascinating, you know, the way all of this builds and everybody finds their way.
Absolutely.
So, I think the moral of that story is however you do it is fine.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really hope that we don't have a lot of quilt policing on that. We will not allow it.
No. Just
we will not
biggest
allow
thing
it in
is
our
have
Facebook
fun.
group.
No, just have fun with it. And I'm really excited to
out.
see what people make with these blocks. Like I'm excited to see the colors they choose and the fabrics. But I feel like we've got lots of mock-ups that will appeal to a variety of color lovers. Like, you know, we've got muted tones, we've got rainbow tones, we've got traditional colors. Like we've gone a little bit crazy on all the layouts, but to give people that idea and then see it come to life in fabric. So I feel like that'll be a benefit because we'll send that out with it when people sign up for the block of the month. So I know for a lot of people choosing colors is one of the hardest things. Like it's hard to visualize how it will look when you put it together. So we're trying to make it a little bit easier by offering the mock-ups for people to use as a bit of a guide if they want to.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you know, there is going to be a Facebook group there. And, you know, if we're not fast on the draw to be able to, you know, pop in and, I don't know, give you a thumbs up on your color palette, I know because quilters are just awesome when they're in community. I know that you're going to find a community of people who are going to be willing to help you and encourage you. And if, you know, if you're unsteady, just ask, okay? Because the chances are you being brave enough to ask the question, you're being brave for someone who maybe isn't so confident in asking a question, and you're going to help them out too. There are no daft questions. There just are no daft questions. I mean, we don't design patterns for any other reason than we want you to enjoy making quilts. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. There are a whole lot of other jobs you can have that don't involve this. And we all do it because we really want people to have fun while they make things.
Yeah.
So if you're not having fun, let us know. And we'll do what we can to try to make it more fun.
Have fun.
We'll make you have fun. But we're not going to come by and clean your studio. We're not going to do that. No.
I barely clean my own.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm really excited about this collaborative quilt though. And I just want to say how much I've enjoyed working with you too on this. Like it's really been so fun. Just it
has been. It's really been the best. For those of you who don't work alone in an entrepreneurial business, or you do work alone at home, solopreneurs, which all of us are, don't have water coolers. So we don't have those opportunities to stand around, shoot the bull, collaborate, chit-chat with each other unless we go out and make our connections. It's a rather solitary endeavor. And for me personally, it's always wonderful to have amazingly creative colleagues that I can turn to.
Yeah.
And we have a water cooler text thread, so that's that makes up for it. We just have to mind the time zones.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Aussie time zone's so different to everyone else's. This is why we have like silent and do not disturb on our phones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any words of wisdom before we sign off? And we'll leave you, obviously, with pictures of the quilts at the end of this video. Um, any words of wisdom? Kristy?
I think it's just the running theme of this. Just jump in, have fun. That's if people like come out of this going, I really love sewing that, then that will absolutely make my day.
Yeah.
Right. No words of wisdom. Do what works for you and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lila?
I was going to say is jump in, give it a try. Like if you feel like this is maybe a bit of a stretch for you, was for me designing it, like it's just one line and section at a time. You're just sewing on the lines and it all comes together.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to steal Kristy's phrase. Make it your own.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, people, we really hope you enjoy this pattern, and we'll see you in the Facebook group.
Yes.
All right.
Good.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.